Your stop loss is one fixed number that you reuse on every market. On the faster ones, an ordinary day's move reaches past it and closes a trade that you called right. And in my early days, I was sure that a stop loss was just a stop loss. So I used a flat 20 pips on everything, and it helped to blow up my fast account until I swapped that guess for a reading. So I'll hand you the one number that shows how far each market moves before good trades die to normal movement. You already know your stop loss should fit the market, but nobody gives you the actual number to fit it to. 𝑀𝒊𝒎𝒆𝒄𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒎𝒆𝒓 ran a $600 million fund, and he built it on one habit most traders never learn. He never used the same sized bet on two different markets. Before every trade, he measured how much of that market was moving, and he set his risk to fit it, so that a quiet currency and a wild commodity carried the same dollar risk. He never picked the number, he read it, and that's the step you skip when you glance at a trading chart and reuse the same stop loss, never asking how far it moves in a day. Here's the number. Pull up the daily trading chart and read the 10-day ATR, the average true range. In plain words, it's how far this market normally travels in a single day, and it updates itself as the market speeds up or slows down. On a currency market, your stop loss sits at 80% of that daily range, beyond your entry, with one hard rule: never tighter than 50 pips, even when the reading comes in quiet. Let's look at an example. Say the 10-day ATR on a currency market reads 90 pips. So a normal day is 90 pips of movement. 80% of that is 72. So your stop loss goes 72 pips beyond your entry price, and your take profit sits at twice that, 144 pips away for a clean 1 to 2. Now take that flat 30 pip stop loss you used to use. 30 pips sits deep inside a 90 pip day. The market doesn't even have to trend against you, because one ordinary session breathes past 30 and you are out on a trade that was never wrong. And when a market goes quiet, say the reading drops to 55, 80% is 44, which is under the floor, so you hold at 50. The floor stops a calm week from talking you into a stop loss that is too tight for the market to respect. That gap between your stop loss and the market's normal day has a name. I call it the expansion gap, the room your stop loss leaves for a completely ordinary move. I stopped guessing that gap years ago. I read it instead before every single trade for years. So now you can size a stop loss to one market. But the first time you run that same 80% across your whole watch list, something breaks. Because the number that's perfect on a currency market is wrong on gold. Read that same 10-day ATR on gold, take 80% of it, and you'll get stopped out almost every time. The identical rule that saves your currency trades wipes out your metal and index trades, and until you know why, half your watch list is working against you without you noticing. Engineers ran into this exact problem with steel long before it ever showed up on a price chart. Look closely at an old stretch of rail and you'll see it. Small gaps left between each length of rail at regular intervals, the whole way down the line. To most people, those gaps look like sloppy work, like somebody cut corners and left the job half done. Ride over them and you can hear it, that steady clack clack under the train. Now imagine the passenger who notices them for the first time. Hang on, why are there gaps on the track? Hang on, why are there gaps in the track? Someone has cut corners here, and now you want me sitting on a train doing 160 kilometers per hour over a rail that's full of holes. Here's what that passenger doesn't know. Steel expands when it heats up. On a hot summer afternoon, every one of those rails grows longer. Pin them down end to end with no room to move, and that expanding steel has nowhere to go. The whole line kinks and buckles sideways in the heat, and a buckle rail is exactly how you throw a train off the tracks. The gap that looks like a floor is the entire reason the train stays on. The engineers did not forget to close it. They measured how much that steel moves in the heat, and they left it precisely that much room. And you've watched the trading version of this 100 times. Price nudges a hair past your stop loss, snaps back, and runs to exactly the level you called, all in one afternoon. The stop loss was not wrong, it was pinned. So here is how you leave the right amount of room on every market using that same one reading. It splits into two speeds, so call it the two speeds. On currencies, you clear a fraction of the normal day, the 80% you already have, and you can read it and set it live in under a minute before your session. On the faster markets, metals, indices, crypto, and US stocks, you clear a multiple of the normal day instead, somewhere between 1 and 3 times that 10-day TR. You don't decide that multiple live. You don't eyeball it. You set it once per market from backtesting, and then it's locked. Gold gets its number. The Nasdaq gets its own, and you never touch them again. Let's look at an example with a stock index. Say its 10-day TR reads 200 points. So a normal day is 200 points. Your backtesting told you this one needs about twice its normal day. So your stop loss sits at 400 points beyond entry, and your take profit sits twice that at 800 points out. Same reading as the currency, completely different amount of room, because the market underneath it is completely different. And you place that stop loss beyond the level the market would have to break for your trade to be proven wrong, so that ordinary movement can't reach it, that only a genuine break of your level can. This is why one fixed number can never guard markets that move 10 times differently from each other. Run the same stop loss across a sleepy currency and a violent index, and you'll survive on one and get wiped out on the other. That fixed stop loss is already draining some of your markets and sparing others. And the free 3-minute diagnostic quiz in the description below is built to show you exactly which ones. Take the free 3-minute quiz today with the link below. So bigger, faster markets get bigger stop losses, which should mean bigger losses. More on the line every time you are wrong. Except when I actually made this switch, the opposite happened. My stop losses got wider and my losses got smaller. And it took me years to understand why. A wider stop loss is supposed to mean more risk. A bigger loss every time the market runs against you. So the last thing you would expect is that widening your stop losses is the thing that finally ends the losses. In my early days, in the few months I spent blowing up my first account with a stop loss of 20 to 30 pips, because that's what I had been told, that a tight stop loss protects you. It felt responsible. It felt like the disciplined choice, and it wrecked me. Trade after trade, I would map the level, call the direction, get the entry right, and then watch some ordinary afternoon nudge 30 pips against me, take me out, and turn straight back towards my take profit without me. I would sit there staring at a trading chart that had done exactly what I predicted on a trade I no longer had. The thought in my head was never, my stop loss was too tight. It was, the market is out to get me. I would tell myself the level was still good. The analysis was still right. The market was just being irrational for one more trading candle. And then I would do the worst possible thing and jump back in to prove I was right. That's how a bad stop loss turned into a blown account. It was a few years before it truly clicked, and it clicked the day I found the ATR. That fixed number had nothing to do with how far those markets actually moved. It was just a figure that sounded safe, and I had been placing it right in the middle of the market's normal breathing. And here's the part that's hard. Harder than any of the maths. When you first widen a stop loss to fit the market, it feels reckless, because every instinct you've built says a wider stop loss is a bigger loss sitting on your hands while price wanders deep into that gap. Not touching it, trusting the room to do its job, is the single most uncomfortable thing this whole approach asks of you. It is also the entire skill. Holding that line without talking yourself out of it comes down to 3 rules, and they finish the method. First, on currencies, you clear 80% of the normal day, not the whole thing. you leave the last slice on purpose because if you widen the stop loss to the full daily range, your 1 to 2 take profit would sit so far out it lands past the next level the market has to fight through, and the trade stops being worth taking. 80% clears the ordinary market chop and still keeps a clean take profit in reach. Second, the flow holds no matter what. Never tighter than the market's normal day, and on currencies, never tighter than 50 pips, even on a dead quiet week, when the reading tempts you to shrink it. A quiet week is not a permanent one. Third, and this is the one that separates you from most traders, the walk-away line. Once you size the stop loss to the market, check the take profit. Say the market size stop loss comes to 120 pips, so a proper 1 to 2 needs 240. But the next major level sits only 180 pips away. That means there is no room for the reward, or the stop loss is too wide that even the smallest position your broker allows would risk more of your account than you are willing to lose on one trade. Either way, you don't shrink the stop loss to force the trade. You skip it. The market decides the stop loss, and you decide whether it's worth taking. The stop loss distance itself sets everything else. You take your fixed dollar risk, say $50, divide it by that stop loss distance, and it hands you your trade size directly, so that a wider stop loss just means a smaller trade size at the same $50 of risk, never a bigger loss. And before your next trade, that's the whole move. Pull the daily trading chart, read the 10-day ETR, and let that one number set your stop loss instead of a figure you picked months ago. Understand who's sitting on the other side of the old way. Every time an ordinary price movement clips a stop loss that was never sized for that market, you pay the spread to close and pay it again to get back in. The broker earns on every one of those exits. So the one party who could tell you your stop loss was too tight is the one party that is paid to never tell you. Get this right, and the change is quiet. Your good trades stop dying on ordinary days, and you stop re-entering out of spite. You become the trader whose stop loss is measured to the market, the one who keeps his correct calls instead of donating them to an ordinary afternoon. And that last part, whether your account can even afford a market stop loss, is the one thing you can't eyeball. So watch this next, where I show you the 9-minute check that exposes the real minimum risk hiding in every market that you trade. See you in that video.